Okay, so have you ever gotten, like, really in the mood to make a good cup of coffee?
Like, not just any coffee, but, one of those fancy pour-overs.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
You've got your beans picked out, your grinders ready to go, your favorite mugs clean.
Right.
And then, bam, you realize your kettle is, well, kind of basic.
I've been there.
It's almost heartbreaking, isn't it?
Almost, yeah.
Which brings us to our listener today. They're looking to, step up their coffee game. And this SAKI Baristan kettle, it's caught their eye.
It's everywhere these days, it seems like.
Seriously, everyone's talking about it. But is it actually that good, or is it all hype? That's why we're doing this deep dive, right? We're going through this super detailed online review to get to the bottom of it all.
And I've got to say, this review is seriously thorough. They went all out, which means we've got a lot to cover.
Okay, so first things first. Temperature. This review is obsessed with the sake's accuracy, something like plus or minus 1 degree. Honestly, I usually just boil water and call it a day. Is that level of precision actually that important?
Oh, it's huge, especially if you're doing pour-over.
Yeah.
Like, different coffees have different ideal temperatures. Even being off by a couple degrees can throw the whole flavor off.
Huh. So it's about consistency then, getting the absolute most out of the beans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this kettle, it's all about that consistency. Way more than those cheaper models.
Makes sense. Okay, but then there's this whole PID controller thing they keep mentioning.
Right.
Honestly, sounds kind of intimidating. What even is a PID controller, and should I care?
Okay, so imagine like a super smart thermostat, but for your water. That's basically what the PID controller is doing. It's constantly checking the temperature, making these tiny adjustments. So even if you like get distracted, which, let's be real, we all do.
Oh, all the time.
Exactly. That water's going to be at the perfect temperature when you need it, ready to bloom those fancy Ethiopian Yirgacheffe grounds.
See, that's the kind of reassurance I need, especially since I get distracted like every 5 seconds. Speaking of speed, this kettle's got that 1200-watt element. The review said it heats up in under 5 minutes.
It's crazy fast.
Now that's efficient, but is it just about speed?
Well, yeah, it's fast, but usually that kind of efficiency means it's using less energy overall.
Yeah.
Better for the environment, which is a nice bonus.
Oh, good point. Okay, starting to see why everyone's raving about this thing.
Yep.
All right, next up, and this is apparently a big deal, according to the review, the Gooseneck spout.
Yeah, they were really into that.
They were gushing. And it does look cool, but is it more than just aesthetics? Like, what's the big deal with the gooseneck?
It's all about control. That shape, it lets you pour slower, more precisely, which, again, super important for pour-over.
Makes sense. Actually, they mentioned that bigger spouts are supposed to be better for speed, without, like, sacrificing that control. I swear, they were going deep on spout sizes.
It's a whole thing. The right spout can make or break your pour.
No kidding. All right, so moving on from spouts, what about how sturdy this thing is? The SAKI Baristan, it's cast iron, right? With a rubber grip. Sounds like it could survive anything.
Pretty much.
They even made a point of mentioning it's plastic-free.
Which is a big deal for a lot of people, I bet.
Right. Like, good for you. And it just feels higher quality. They put some real thought into it.
Exactly. It's those little details that make a difference.
For sure. All right. So far, this SAKI Baristan sounds amazing, but this is a deep dive, right? Gotta look at all sides. And this review, they did mention some downsides, even, like, dissected some of the bad reviews out there, so let's get into that, yeah.
Yeah, no product is perfect, right? And this kettle, it's no exception. So let's dig into those not-so-great reviews, see what's up.
Yeah, the review mentioned a 4.1-star rating.
Right.
Which, I mean, isn't bad.
No, not at all.
But it does make you wonder, there are some unhappy campers out there.
Definitely. Most of the reviews are super positive, but there are a few people who had some bad experiences.
Okay, so, what went wrong?
It seems like the biggest complaint is that sometimes they just stop working.
What?
Yeah.
Like the whole kettle just dies.
Yeah, some people said it only lasted a few months. Others said the temperature control went haywire.
Oh, no. Especially at this price, you'd think it would last longer than a couple months. Did the review say how common these problems are?
That's the thing. It's hard to tell. They mentioned the bad reviews, but not how many people actually had problems. Could just be a bad batch, It happens.
True, but still something to keep in mind. So, if your kettle does break, what's the customer service like?
Well, that's another thing. Some people weren't thrilled with the customer service.
Really? What happened?
Long wait times, mostly. And some said the company wasn't that helpful.
Ugh, that's the worst. You spend all this money, expect a good experience.
Exactly. Sometimes the customer service is just as important as the product itself.
Totally agree. Okay, so we've talked about the downsides, the breaking, the customer service. But let's not forget all the good stuff. The review mentions some features that maybe aren't as exciting as a fancy spout, but still pretty cool, like that timer.
The brew timer.
Yeah. Is that actually useful?
At first I thought it was kind of gimmicky, but it could be helpful, especially for beginners. Takes the guesswork out of it.
Right, like having a little barista built in. Oh, and they also mentioned the safety features, the auto shut-off, stay cool handle.
Important stuff.
Totally. But kind of standard these days, right?
Yeah, most kettles have those now. But the review, they said the Sakis are really well designed.
So not just about being fancy, but actually being safe.
Exactly. And let's be real, we've all left a kettle on and come back to that burnt smell.
Don't even remind me. Okay, but moving on from the practical stuff, the review mentions something kind of funny. They were really into how the kettle looked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they even called it sophisticated. Like, it's nice, but are we displaying kettles like art now?
Maybe not that far.
Yeah.
But hey, if it looks good in your kitchen, why not? I think it shows they cared about the design,
Yeah.
It's not just a boring old kettle. And don't forget, it comes with that 2-year warranty.
Oh, right. That's a good sign. Means they're confident about it lasting.
Exactly.
So where does that leave us? We've gone through like a whole breakdown of this SAKI Baristan. Good, bad, the fancy spout, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
For our listener who's thinking about buying one, it's got to be a tough call.
It is. I mean, it's got a lot going for it. All those features, the temperature control, that gooseneck. If you're serious about your moreover, it's tempting. And that warranty, 2 years, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
But then those negative reviews.
Yeah, even if it's just a few people.
Makes you wonder.
It's like you find the perfect pair of jeans, the fit is amazing, you love the wash, and then you see a loose thread, and you're like, is this it? Is this the start of it all unraveling?
That's a perfect way to put it. And that's why doing your research is so important. Reading those negative reviews, you get a better idea of what could go wrong beyond the marketing,
For sure. So for our listener, what's the takeaway here? What should they be thinking about when they're deciding whether to buy this SAKI Baristan or not?
I think it comes down to your priorities. What's most important to you? If it's precision, control, and you're okay with maybe, possibly, having a kettle-related meltdown.
Hopefully not a meltdown.
Right, hopefully not. But if you can handle a little risk, this kettle might be perfect. But if you really value good customer service, or you just hate uncertainty, maybe keep looking.
Tough call. But honestly, this whole deep dive, it makes you think about more than just the kettle itself,
Totally.
It's about the whole experience, that feeling of making a really good cup of coffee.
Exactly. Finding what you love about the process, whether it's like weighing your beans perfectly every time, trying a new technique, or just, enjoying that first sip. That's what makes it special.
Just the little rituals, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Golden Fleece, it's not about having the fanciest equipment. It's about finding those things that make you excited to brew coffee.
Love that. So if a fancy kettle like the SAKI Baristan helps you do that, go for it.
Exactly. And hey, maybe those good looks will inspire you to make coffee more often.
There you go. Well, it's been fun breaking down this whole SAKI Baristan thing with you.
Yeah, it has.
To our listener, we hope this deep dive gave you some things to think about on your quest for the perfect kettle.
Happy brewing.